Deep in the savanna forest, where the red earth met the tall grasses and acacia trees reached up to the sky, lived Sungura. Everyone knew he was very clever, but they also knew his biggest weakness, a never-ending hunger for food. One bright morning, Fisi from the village on the east side of the forest came to visit. He was dressed in his best clothes and carried an envelope in his hand. Inside, there was a special invitation to a wedding feast,
where there would be a grand meal of pilau and delicious meat. Sungura couldn't wait to go.
And as he took the invitation, he imagined the tasty food waiting for him. Later that very same evening, Nyani, a wise elder from the village on the west side,
came to Sungura's home with another invitation.
This one was for a wedding feast too, but at Nyani's village, and there would be biryani, another wonderful dish made with rice, spices and meat.
Sungura thought long and hard that night.
He didn't want to miss either feast, and the thought of pilau and biryani made his mouth water. To make sure he had enough space in his belly, he decided not to eat anything the day before the weddings. He went to bed with an empty stomach, dreaming of the two delicious meals waiting for him. On the morning of the wedding,
Sungura set off early for Fisi's village.
When he arrived, he saw the cooks lighting the fires and getting the big pots ready. The smell of garlic and onions filled the air, but the food wasn't ready yet.
Sungura looked around,
and though he was hungry,
he couldn't wait for the pilau. He remembered that Nyani's feast might be getting ready,
so he decided to leave and head west. When he reached Nyani's village, the cooks were still busy preparing the meat for the biryani. It smelled delicious, but the food wasn't ready yet either.
Sungura sat for a little while,
but he was too anxious. What if he missed the pilau? He quickly stood up and hurried back to Fisi's village. This time, the food at Fisi's village was almost ready. The big pot of pilau was bubbling, and the cooks were stirring it gently. The smell was so good that Sungura's stomach growled loudly. Guests were starting to arrive, and plates were being placed on the tables. But even with all that, Sungura couldn't stop thinking about the biryani at Nyani's village. What if it was already being served? He just couldn't sit still, so he turned around and rushed back once again. When Sungura arrived at Nyani's village, the biryani was almost ready. The smell of fried onions, saffron and coconut filled the air, and the cooks were adding the final touches. It looked so tasty, but it still wasn't time to eat.
Sungura's stomach rumbled,
and his mind raced.
What if the pilau was already being served back at Fisi's village?
Unable to wait any longer, he jumped up and hurried back once more.
When Sungura reached Fisi's village this time, the pilau was already gone.
The guests were full, laughing and patting their bellies. Panicked, Sungura ran back to Nyani's village. But by the time he arrived, the biryani had been eaten too. The guests were leaving and all the plates were empty.
Sungura sat alone under a big tree between the two villages.
His stomach was empty and his mind was full of regret. In trying to go to both feasts and eat everything, he had missed out on both meals. As the sun set behind the hills, Sungura realized the lesson he had learned. If you chase everything at once, you may end up with nothing.